Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Rugby Wrap-Up and this week's Martial Law. Turning point in every single Major League Rugby match with Colby Marshall. Colby, take it away.
Let's take it away, Matt. New York versus Old Glory. You know, this was a game that had everything. High scoring, cheapiness, that DC-New York rivalry to it. Phenomenal to be in the atmosphere for this match. But in the second half, when New York was up 24-20, it was a back and forth affair up until that point. Old Glory had the possession of the ball. Tusitala comes off the scrum. Hollinshead, who played a phenomenal game, intercepted the pass, takes it back, puts New York up by double digits. And that really gave them that separation that they needed, for the remainder of the match, because every time Old Glory tried to come back in it, they just didn't have enough to complete the comeback. So that proved to be the turning point.
Yeah, great match, tough match, and couldn't have been more exciting for the metropolitan New York area. Getting rugby back, having a sprinkling of fans as per invite only because of the COVID protocol, but just a great way to get rugby jump-started back here in the New York City area. Next,
LA versus Houston. This was a game that Houston was really in up until the latter minutes of the match, up by a point in the 64th minute. They had possession of the ball, but Zack got called for a penalty for holding onto the ball for too long on the ground, which gave the Giltinis the ball back in a great position in which they took advantage of by scoring a try by Mahe Balanu. And that was the first points of a 14-0 run that they would go on in those last 15 minutes of the match. It was really sad that that little play ended up being the turning point because it was such a great game that Houston looked like they were going to win. Goes to show you why LA is 4-0. They have that spurt ability, Matt. A phrase you often hear in basketball, the ability to score at a rapid, sudden fashion. That's what LA does, and that's why they're so dangerous and probably the best team in the MLR.
Yeah, it's not a question of if the Giltinis will go on a run, it's when they will go on a run. Let's go on a run to the next one.
Yeah, in Utah versus San Diego, fly half Hagen Schultz for the Utah Warriors. He played a great game, but similar to last week, he made a crucial error that led to some San Diego points that proved to be the turning point. He kicked the ball over their deadline with over 10 minutes to play. On the Legion ensuing possession, they score a try that put them up by 2 scores to really put the game to bed, Matt.
Yeah, tough one. And that German engineering for that foot, das Boot, he's got to control that a little bit more, but he will. He's a solid player. Next one,
Toronto versus Seattle. Shout out to Ross Broad, who got the nod at 9. He was one of my players to watch for the Arrows coming into the season, but Toronto jumped out to a 17-0 lead, Matt. And on a play where Seattle looked like they were going to score, they were stopped a meter short of the try line. So this was a sequence that could have been the start of a rally for Seattle, but they weren't able to come away with any points. And Toronto goes right back down and goes up 24-0. And from that point on, the game was really written out for the Arrows to continue their pummeling job of the defending champions.
Yeah, and I know that the defending champs, because of COVID, they're still the reigning champs. The Seawolves won't make excuses, but their travel situation was abhorrent. They are a West Coast team, and they had to play at 10:30 a.m. on the East Coast after traveling the previous day. And it was basically 7:30 in the morning for them, having to wake up extra early to play at their time, 7:30, after a day of travel and connecting flights. Got to do a better job on that. Next one,
Austin versus Rugby ATL. Connor Mooneyham is continuing to show why he was deserving of the #1 overall draft pick in the first ever collegiate MLR draft. Down 12-7 with under 10 minutes to play, he receives a kick, and it looks like he's just going to play the territory game and kick it back to Rugby ATL, but he makes the sky-high kick up in the air, chases it down, gets it back, and runs it in for a try to tie the game. Huge breaking point in the match. Totally turned the game into Austin's favor. They go on to win the match. Connor Mooneyham, another impressive performance. They have to love what they're seeing from the kid.
You're right. And the Dallas Jackals have to be kicking themselves because he was their #1 draft pick. Next.
In the match between NOLA and New England would have salvaged their misconversion late in the second half when they had possession of the ball in NOLA territory, but knocked it on with under 4 minutes to go, which pretty much ended the game. NOLA was able to hang on for the victory.
Yeah, and those pressure-packed moments, it's always just that knock-on or that missed pass that gets you and deflates your team and can change it, and you nailed it. Nice job again Final thoughts before we let you go.
I have to say, Utah, you got to have John Powers in the roster. I mean, look at the LA Giltinis.
Why exactly are you saying that they have to have him in the lineup?
Well, if you didn't get the message last week, Matt, it's because he's Iona and because we're winners. Iona, we contribute to winning. Okay, Watson Filikatonga was in LA's roster for the first time this week, and they won. Utah, put the kid in the lineup. You got to play him.
I like your spunk. I like your Iona Gales force wind, if you will, blowing across the MLR. I love that. But on that note, my friend, we're out of time. Thank you again, Mr. Colby Marshall, the Iona stalwart, with his martial law. And please check out our other segments, including our Major League Rugby show, our Global Rugby Recap, What Are the Odds?, our Major League Rugby Sports Bet show with the Philly Godfather, John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE legend, and Gifty Bailu, martial law, the Zack Attack. And please sign up for our American Red Cross Rugby Wrap-Up Blood Donor Team.